Welcome to a January edition of Paul's Yard Walk. Today we're going to talk a little bit about propagation because it's January and there's not much else to talk about. Well, there might be some stuff outside. These are commonly called a Christmas cactus. There were some blooms on one of these earlier this year. They were really pretty, and a friend of mine wanted a cutting. So what I've done before, these are dead simple to propagate. You basically cut off just rip off a couple of these pods and stick them in a little pot with some potting soil and keep them damp indoors, of course, because this is an indoor plant in the wintertime at least. And they'll pretty much root. I've had more than 50% success doing that, and I didn't even use any rooting hormone or babied them in any way. Just stick one or more of these pods in the ground in the soil and let them go. Now this over here was a little bit tougher decision. At my parents' house in South Dakota, there was a crabapple tree in the backyard, and it's been there ever since I was a small child, and it has good shade, and it has really tasty crab apples, and I always kind of wanted one. So I was just in South Dakota recently, and it's the wrong time of year for this, but what I did was I just took some cuttings and stuck them into a mixture of you can find instructions for this on the web. This is peat, moss, and sand, and a little sterile potting soil mixed together, dampened thoroughly. And then I used a rooting hormone and followed the instructions on the package, dipped the ends of the stalks in the rooting hormone, stuck them in the ground. Now, this isn't supposed to work because this tree was in South Dakota in the wintertime. It was dormant. And what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to do this in the spring when this tree has flowers come out first. Then the flowers drop off and the leaves start to form. And when the flowers drop off is when you're supposed to do it. So this may not work. But I took about 3 cuttings, and this is just an experiment, basically. I'm just trying to get it to grow. And one of these actually has some leaves that are starting to grow. Now, I don't know if that means it's rooting. I'm not going to mess with it. I'm just going to leave it stuck in the damp soil. If it doesn't work, I'm going to call my brother and see if he can send me some cuttings in the mail next year. What I'd like to do is I'd like to get, as you can see, I did 3 pots. I did 3 big cuttings, and then I took 3 small cuttings to try different combinations. But since these were dormant, I don't know if they have enough sap or whatever in them to actually root, or if they're just going to die. I guess we'll find out. I'll update you on the success. But the one here that does have leaves coming is at least promising. What I'd like to do then, of course, is plant at least one of these in our yard and have a nice crabapple tree here, and maybe spread a few more around. Now, the reason you have to use cuttings for apples, and this crabapple is no exception, is that eating apples do not come true from seed. So if you plant the seeds from an apple that you like, you'll get an apple tree, but you won't get the fruit that you thought you were going to get. The only way to get exactly the same fruit is to use a cutting. So that's what I'm doing. This is my begonia. As I said in a previous episode, I've been bringing the begonia into the garage every year, and and letting it sit dormant in a dark area and then bringing it out in the spring. Because outside, when the temperature gets below 40, it loses all its leaves. But I brought this one indoors, and it's actually got some new growth, and it's growing. It's not growing very fast because it's not getting a ton of light, but I think I'm just going to leave it out and let it grow out here this year and just see what happens. We had a white Christmas. There's a few days now have passed, and the snow is pretty much all. There's a little blob of snow right there where I had pushed some of the snow off the driveway into a blob. It should probably be gone by the end of today. Temperatures in the 40s today, and we're supposed to get rain, so that'll disappear quickly. I wanted to come up here. This is I have several Mahonia up here, which are also called Oregon grape, and this one here is the one that blooms in December. I don't know why it does that, but as you can see, it's got some big bloom pods on it this year, quite a few blooms, and it didn't seem to matter with the snow that we had. Didn't seem to bother it. You know, the beauty of native plants. But I just thought I'd show that quick here. It gives me a little something to look at in December, at least, with the big flower pods. I've been bringing the bird feeders in every night because of the bear, and I've also seen online in a local group that a lot of people in our area here have been visited by one or more bears this year. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue to bring the bird feeders in every night. I've got 3 seed feeders, 1 suet feeder, and 1 bird bath this year. And I got the usual suspects. The little chickadee was checking me out, making sure I wasn't too scary. I wanted to talk about one last propagation plant, and this is a hydrangea. And this is wintertime. Hydrangeas here lose their leaves, and the old mop heads, turn brown. Some people would have cut those back and taken some indoors for a dried flower arrangement. You can see there's a couple of them blue that are still blooming up there on top. This guy back here must be sheltered enough. He's still got some leaves. But what I wanted to mention, hydrangeas are probably one of the easiest things in the world to propagate. In fact, if you're a sloppy gardener like me, and I'll come in here this spring and clean this mess up, but I'm going to leave it for now. But what happens is the branches fall over. They get heavy and they fall over. And when they do, the way you propagate a hydrangea, you can do a rock or something, is just take one of these branches that's on the ground. In fact, here's one that's already propagated, it looks like right here. It's on the ground, just push it down onto the ground, maybe put a little dirt over it, put a rock or something on it to hold it, and where it's under the ground, it will root. And then once it's rooted, you can just cut it off above here, between it and the mother plant, and then you have a brand new plant. And like I said, mine do that naturally because I don't cut them back forcefully. So they do grow and fall over, especially that one there. There's some here. This one here is still green. That one there, the leaves have pretty much all fallen. And this one here, the leaves have pretty much all fallen. These hydrangeas like shade. They like a little water. They don't care. They don't need it to be, swampy. But in the summertime, in July and August here, when we don't get any rain, they will let me know when they need a drink. What happens is these leaves will just start to droop, and it looks, like it's thirsty. Take the hose and give it a little water, and within an hour, the leaves perk right back up again. So in July and August, I water these periodically. Usually when they tell me they need it, I have to come back here and notice that. But anyway, there's talking about propagation today. Two easy ones: the Christmas cactus and the hydrangea, and one hard one. I think it's going to be a hard one. The crabapple. So wish me luck, and talk to you next time.